See?
Well, I do, just peasy.
Oh, yeah, Janet.
We're live. We're live.
Okay.
All right. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Better than dead, I suppose.
You're very, very correct. It's working,
Well,
isn't it?
you know.
Yeah, can you, I just wanna make sure they get you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Just stop.
You're gonna start us.
Sure.
Oh,
This is your plan, but
this is your party, Mr.
Well, let's start with prayer. Father, we thank you for this night and the opportunity again that we have just to enjoy being together, enjoy being in your presence before you. We ask that you would just open our hearts, open our minds as we study your word, as we discuss tonight, talk. May honest answers just come from our heart, Lord, that will bless and help and encourage others. So thank you for this time. Bless our meeting together. Thank you. Tom and Nicole and Selena and Travis have agreed to join us this night. And may everything we say be pleasing to you. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so as you know, if you've been watching the last couple of weeks, we have been studying what God says in His Word about the responsibilities of husband and the responsibilities of wives. And we thought tonight that, you know, it's one thing, and I'm not saying it's bad, it's a good thing to learn what God says about our responsibilities are. But it's yet another to have people sharing ideas on how that's working in your lives, you know, in relation to different situations, but, you know, how is it playing out? And we can just kind of learn from one another. And so I thought of some questions that we can ask tonight. And I'm hoping that everybody can see my signing, even if I'm not facing this way. But so in our searching on one site, it said, when fear comes knocking at the door, send faith to answer. And I thought, I like that, you know, because we are to meet fear with faith. And, you know, this whole COVID-19 thing has spread a lot of fear in the world, you know. And so I thought I would start tonight by talking a little bit in light of the fear that fear is everywhere right now. How has that affected our families? You know, and then I have some specific questions, as you know, for husbands and wives. But you know, we can share a little bit first. Maybe just, you know, how has that affected each of your families? And feel free to volunteer right in there. You know, we know that, well, especially for you two and with Selena, I should introduce and spell. So we have two couples joining us tonight. We have Tom and his wife. I'm assuming it's Nicole. Okay, Nicole. And then we have the bearded fellow sitting there. His name is Travis. Travis, and his wife's name is Salina. Selena. Right. Okay. So, and they've agreed, without knowing any of the questions, to come and sit.
I've got a phone call I got to take.
So I was going to ask, the first question is, did Adam and Eve have a belly button?
Oh, that's, I've wondered that.
You wondered about that.
I was gonna ask you about that. Seriously, they didn't, did they?
I don't know.
I was,
I feel sad.
Are you joking?
I feel
No,
sad.
I always wondered that.
Oh my goodness. We're down here.
I always
Yeah.
wondered that, so.
There is is no verse that explains that.
That's funny.
If you think about it, they wouldn't have needed one.
No, that's.
But
The danger is that now when Travis gets to heaven and meets Adam.
Roll down.
No.
That's too funny.
Okay.
That was a
I
good
fell for it.
icebreaker.
So no, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how fear, has affected your families, and maybe you can share first.
I can say as the man, knowing that I'm supposed to be the breadwinner, my role is now at home with the kids while she's going to work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of unsureness in that.
Right?
Mhm.
Because that is part of the husband or the man and the husband. We have. I was explaining, when Adam and Eve sinned, the curse against Eve was pain in bearing children, right? Because that's her natural realm. Because the woman naturally is the one that bears the children, right?
Mhm.
But the natural realm for man is work. So that's where our curse came, is now work means hard sweat, it's not easy anymore, so it is in every man to feel the need to get up and go to work. I shared yesterday with Vicki and Pastor that if I'm stuck at home and not able to work, I get grouchy and I make everybody at home grouchy.
I understand.
Same, yeah. So these are hard times, when, like you're stuck at home, it just doesn't feel natural. So
Completely new role.
yeah, it's new. So do you like it?
Not really.
Well,
Till I go back to work.
okay. And how about you guys?
I don't think we've had truly fears. The only thing that's changed for us is we haven't been able to see the grandkids. Yeah. That's really the only thing. I work every day. I drive truck. I don't know if you would call it essential or expendable. But so, I work every day. Nicole's still working. She's working 20 hours a week instead of 40. But that's not really a big deal. I'm blessed. I've had.
So our biggest
Good job.
thing is not being able to get with family and see the grandkids or be around other family members who are older and would have possible underlying
Yeah, I
health
haven't
issues.
seen my dad in.
Yeah.
Just simply because he's 82, you don't want to.
I haven't seen my mom since March
Yeah,
10th.
exactly. That's the only thing that's really changed for us, but as far as fear, I haven't truly worried about it.
Yeah. Well, you can not worry, but still be affected,
Oh, absolutely.
which all of us are, not being able to go to church, whatever. I mean, we think that we're handling it sometimes, but, I think sometimes it just kind of builds that we're Americans. We're used to our freedom. We want to go.
Grouchy for that.
Yeah.
Not being able to go to
Very.
church. When I've got to watch it on the TV and it starts doing the real or death thing, I get upset. Yeah, well, I don't do that, but I just get upset.
No, he
Like,
takes his phone and on the table it goes and
I was having problems at a dark place. So I finally thought, can I do this on my phone? Because I'm not, computer savvy. Okay, it worked great on my phone. It wouldn't work on the computers, but it worked great on my phone. So I'm watching this little bitty screen.
We're able to broadcast ours to our TV, so we have.
well, we have it on the
we
TV.
have that too,
Before
but
UT go on the
But
TV,
it's still.
it's been a lot better lately, so whatever you guys have done, it's improved greatly.
Okay. So, you two want to pipe in on that, or you just?
Well, I've been interested in what other people have to say, so I might interject if there's something comes up there. But we are doing well when it comes to all keep the dream. In fact, for me, I don't know if it's true for my wife, but I've liked this in the sense, I wish we had planned for it for 49 years. Because it's almost like a Sabbath. And personally, I've liked the fact that we have spent a lot of time together, and I kind of like her. Now,
So
I don't think it's reciprocal,
reciprocal.
but I don't take it personally, because I understand. But anyway, that's it.
What do you think
They
that?
need counseling.
What need to go find themselves.
And I can interject in that a little bit, because like last summer, I was like, Selena, I just need a vacation. I need a break. And then all of a sudden, it just gets dumped in your lap. I'm still gonna need a vacation when this. It's the Lord.
Be careful what you
He works miracles, odd ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so this question would be, targeted more to the husband. Is how, as husbands, the four of us here, how has your role as husbands in the family, to your wife, if your kids are gone, etc., how has that changed, or has it become harder or easier because of the virus and all the fear that is around? I think specifically is, at least for me, I feel that it's part of my responsibility to protect my family. And I don't just mean physically, but it's my responsibility to protect my family emotionally, spiritually. So, I'm mindful of all the fear, the fear that's everywhere, and how to protect my wife, who I'm watching getting caught up in that, and we're sewing masks like crazy for other people, and you see and you hear and you just, it's easy to become fearful, so I've seen my responsibility a little bit is to just, it's all right, honey, just, and try to just
I can't believe that.
try to instill within her. You understood that? So, anyway, how about you, Travis?
Well, like I said, our roles have completely changed. Now, instead of me checking up on her throughout the day, she's checking in on me.
What? Wait, what?
Well, I get lunchtime. Lunchtime.
Oh, lunchtime.
Oh,
Lunchtime text. I look forward to
Is Tom
that.
watching?
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, you were gonna say, or, no.
I do check in on him. It has changed a lot.
And I either look forward to venting or giving a positive update.
So you're familiar, that country song, Mr. Mom, or was it
Yeah, Mr. Moore.
Yeah.
Mr. Mom? That's you?
Yes.
Frustrated, ready to go find a job. Yeah.
What did you say today? You said,
Two
I'm over it.
shows,
I'm done. Today is like, I'm done. Took the kids over to grandma's house.
I needed any help I can get.
So how about in your household? Have you, how's that worked for you?
I think in my household, my home life has gotten easier because she's home more. It's just Nicole and I, no kids at home, empty nesters. We share pretty much everything, as far as cooking, cleaning, everything. Well, now that she's home more, I've done less of it because she's home, she's just done it. I get home and she's got dinner going. Normally it's a case where we both work till 5 or 6. Whoever gets home first starts dinner. It's just, but I like to cook. But it's gotten easier for me.
Yeah, I understand.
He likes to cook, he's a good cook, but when I don't want to cook, we get food out to grill. Grill. Works great.
He just knows the role.
That sounds grill, just a little grill.
What do you think?
I'll take
What do you
grilling.
think?
Hey.
Yeah.
Well, grilling comes with watching the kids outside too. Multitasking.
That's okay, whatever works.
Good idea. Okay. When you were talking about this with my father, what I was reminded by an article from a friend that I read last week about how as parents, we need to be careful what our children are exposed to in our conversations because they're not emotionally equipped to handle things. And sometimes we can sort of be a little careless when we talk about finances or different things in a place. Because he was telling us about how there was an incident in their home and then his dad took his mom, they went in the kitchen and they talked it out. Then they came back out to the kids and, and I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. Because I talk to a lot of children because that's what I like to do. I spent a good time talking with one of the boys from church today. It was great, but you learn a lot. And sometimes what you learn is that they know things that as an adult and then I wish they didn't. And so it's not a scolding by any means, because maybe you all practice that quite well. But I do think it's something we have to just sort of be more mindful and like Dad. So because I'm a talker, and so I know what it is to have to sometimes stop and go, whoa, not here. Anyway, yeah.
No, that's good, because today, I mean, we live in a time when the kids are exposed, they just take in, everything that.
It's too easy.
Everything is too easy, exactly.
Well, and also the parents treat 5-year-olds like they're their best friend. Well, your teacher's like really stupid. Why would she make you do that?
That's my case, what I've said about that.
Yeah.
I've told my kids point blank, I am not your friend, I am your father. And they know that.
The beauty of that is, if that plays out pretty consistently when you're raising them, they become your friend.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I'm so thankful because my 3 children, I'm friends with my 3 children. Now, they absolutely adore mother. They tolerate me, but we're friends.
Great. Okay, so Ephesians, specifically 5:25, says to husbands that you're to love your wife the same as Christ loved the church. And
That's 5:25.
yes, so it's Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. And it tells the husbands to love your wife the same as Christ loved the church. So the question is, and maybe we're kind of overlapping some of these, but how have the times that we find ourselves in right now made that harder or easier? And to go along with that, I've said before that I don't believe that situations many times cause problems or issues, but they reveal them. They show up because of a situation. So maybe, first question, is it harder or easier maybe because of the fearful times that we're in? But second question, and it maybe is a little bit private, but has there been relationship things that have popped up that you see as a result of this that maybe you need to work on a little bit more? Just honestly. Because times, situations, same as water that just runs over things, washes away things sometimes, and you see things that you didn't before, now's the opportunity that we can see, maybe I need to work on that, more. Any thoughts coming to mind? No? Good, we worked on this.
Well reversed.
I feel eerily, Tom and I think so much alike. And we just pretty much talk things out. We feel the same about we don't have any fears about it. We have, I have concerns for my parents, grandparents, his parents, you know. But we just think so much alike sometimes that we just bounce stuff off each other. So it's not an argument in anything. And I've never had that before.
We don't argue, we agree. May seem odd, but we do not, isn't it?
It is odd.
Is that from day one, or is that like a certain level you get to? From dating?
Well, we've known each other for
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
It's not like, we were friends a long time before we got married. A long time.
We're the opposites, we're opposites every time.
You know, our situation's completely different than yours.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we were only together 2 years before marriage.
Only 2 years.
So.
That's a lot.
I knew right away.
Speaks well of you.
I don't know.
That's how I feel.
What happened pretty fast at your house?
But, you know, it's,
We feel that was a plan
as long as you,
from God.
as long as
Amen.
you put the Lord first. In my life, if I put the Lord first, everything else just kind of falls into place. That's just how I see it, and that's what I've done. You know, everything's just kind of falling into place. I put her needs before mine, the Lord first, hers before mine, works out. She does the same thing. You know, when, it's kind of funny because when we started dating, one of the first things I told her is that this relationship cannot interfere with my relationship with God. I told her that. I was upfront, I was honest. She agreed. Like, how could I go wrong?
You absolutely nailed it in terms of the dynamic that has to be. The husband, the father has to have that relationship with the Lord first and foremost. That's what matters the most, because then the things work in terms of the way God has it laid out from there. But then you also said it well when you said, you know, not only is it God's first, but then she's next in terms of she gets the priority. That's what it is when it says to love our wives as Christ loved the church. What did he do? He gave up heaven and glory to become flesh and die for a people who didn't even care that he came to do that. But he did it. So when you put that into perspective as a husband, we are called to look after the things that our wives need. Now, I know my wife is probably sitting here going, "You don't say the right
Oh, I
thing."
can't
It
say
says,
that.
do you do it? And the answer is not as well as I should, even after 42 years of marriage. But still, the thing is how do we help our wives do the things that they need to do, so that they one feel successful and feel good about what it is they're doing, because we're their biggest champions. Absolutely, that's the way it has to be. They need that desperately, and so you like I said, you said it. Wow, that was, we have it all written down, and we don't even have to go over it again.
And Travis, what'd you say?
It reciprocates.
Well, yeah, I
Women
mean,
do the same.
think about it. What woman is going to give up a man that loves her with all of his heart, that loves the Lord, so he's got his life straightened out, and then will do anything for her? I'm telling you right now, what woman is going to give up a guy like that? They're not. It's like, you're not even going to get close to him. Nobody's touching my man, because this guy takes care of everything. And that's how it works. It's not this dynamic of lording it over them, and I'm in charge, get my slippers and fight. That's garbage. And that's the problem, is that some people actually think that's the way the Bible teaches. It doesn't teach that. Oh, there's no get your slippers and fight. There's roll up your sleeves and have at it. You come home from a hard day's work and you're exhausted, and the first thing you look to do is, what does my wife need to finish her day? Now, again, I sound real good. I haven't been really good at doing that myself. But that's what it should be.
That's why the older men are supposed to be teaching.
Right, yeah. I was telling them the other night, or last night when we were visiting about this, that when I counsel younger men, so many young men have this, when you're talking to them, they're talking about, oh, they go hunting with the guys, they play poker on Thursday, they do this, and I'm like, let's rethink that a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that, but if that becomes sort of a pattern where you can't be interrupted,
That shouldn't be the priority.
no. In other words, you should be willing to immediately, and you should be the one who's seeing what might be needed. Not always waiting to be told, because wives don't always tell us what they need. They don't. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, they maybe don't use words.
No, but yeah.
They
Wow. That's my point. We have to actually not be the way we are typically. We have to, because sometimes it's like, duh. Like, you can't see that things
when
aren't
that
aren't
book
going
hits
well.
you upside the head,
Yeah.
she is
Yeah.
saying something.
My dad always said it's the proverbial 2x4 upside the head. Why did it take me so long to figure this out? But part of that is in your mindset. When you're coming back home, so to speak, with the idea that I'm going to pay attention and see, what does she need to make her day okay? So, I see that with younger men today, though. I have to say I'm quite impressed, because they, my sons-in-law and my own son, wow. I mean, these guys work hard, and but they come home and their priority is the kids. I love it when my son-in-law walks in the door and his two boys, he's had a 16-hour day, not joking. And the boys jump on him. So they're outside, they're wrestling, they're playing, and mom could finally my son comes home, he runs, he takes his run, comes home, takes the kids, they all go to the park so that mom can have a break. And then he's the one that really concentrates on the baths and those things. Now, I didn't do. Shame on me.
Well, they gotta learn it somewhere.
What's that?
Smallest violence, like my heart
I
bleeds for you.
know. He did more than the things. I mean, he really did. But he just wanted to hear me say it.
Anyway.
You're the one that was upset last night when I brought you supper.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Get up and get my own food, you don't have to bring it to me.
But sometimes it's nice.
It
Like on a
is,
Sunday
it is.
evening,
I
it's
just
kind of
feel,
grazing around our place and I warm up some pizza. I want some pizza. Put it on a plate, take it into the living room,
Yeah.
give it to them.
Yep.
It's
I
not gonna
was
hurt me.
sitting there
I don't like.
reading on my phone, and all of a sudden she comes walking by it. I didn't know it was done. Like, you could have told me. I would have come got it.
Well, sometimes we just like to be nice.
Yeah, I
We try. We try. Well, how about you?
Well, I have, other questions, but I thought we would look up some verses and maybe discuss those verses. And then if we have enough time, then we can talk with more questions or maybe continue it next week or something. But we can just go around this way. Honey, if you'd like to look up John chapter 14, verse 27. So that's John chapter 14, verse 27.
I'm gonna give Selena the hard time.
Selena? Yeah.
You're gonna give her the hard one.
Joshua 1:9.
She said, no, I don't.
Joshua's clear to the front of the, close to
Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First Second Samuel, First Second Kings, First Second Chronicles, and all.
Travis, you wanna do Joshua?
1:9.
Yes, so, I'm gonna just, all the verses share, so we have Josh, chapter 1, verse 9. And then Nicole, if you'd like to look up Matthew, chapter 6, verse 34. And then Tom, Psalm 34. You got one by, that's all right, we'll just stop.
I can put it back.
We'll stop right there and we can just go and then
What was
we'll,
mine again?
Matthew 6:34, yes. So let's start with John chapter 14, verse 27.
Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid.
So read it one more time slowly. First time I just interpret, second time I understand it.
Peace I leave with you,
Peace I leave with you.
my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither be afraid.
So, that's a good verse for husbands to use for your families, to just encourage them, to strengthen them. The world's peace is not the same as God's peace by any stretch of the imagination. When our focus is upward, what's down here just kind of isn't as important. So focus up here first, I'm saying, and then we'll have the peace that guards and protects our hearts. It's different than the world. If only people could understand that. Because so many people just search and search their whole life, trying to find that peace that they just can't find with anything else, whether it's
We're being thankful in all things.
being thankful in everything.
Mhm.
Yes. So any other thoughts on that kind of peace, that verse?
We might point out that with the scriptures, with our topic is kind of going more toward fear, dealing with fears than family, right? That's my understanding.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Because a husband's or a wife's responsibility, you have to navigate the waters of life. And right now, I'm just specifically talking about fear because it's the times that we're in that, every person is full of fear, So that's why it's now. But I'm trying to flesh out because the Bible, it doesn't give us a list. Sometimes you just go do life and you work out what respect looks like. You work out what loving your wife looks like. We don't have specific lists that instruct us and teach us how to do that. It would be easy to just die for someone like your wife, right? But living for them and sacrificing yourself every day, that's different. So this is just it's the beginning of true life. How do we, in light of, with understanding the fearful times, how is that affecting us, And these verses, I just want to give us, some ammunition, some things that we can share with our family, something that encourages us, so that we can navigate these waters in light of understanding these verses.
Yeah, the husband and father demeanor plays a big role in how the family
Yes.
is, the climate of the family.
Sure, they're
If
definitely
the father, go ahead, say that again.
They're definitely the barometer.
Yeah, if the father's anxious and stuff, that creates that kind of atmosphere in the house. I'm not talking about having a false sense of calm, but sometimes you do have to sort of buck up a little bit, as they say, not show, not play all your cards in front of them, and wife and kids, so that they have at least a sense of security, if you will, you know. And again, that you're also pointing to the fact that the security that you have isn't because you're gonna take care of it. You understand?
Right.
It's God is, I'm trusting God, and He's going to take care of me, you, our family, see? So my confidence, the reason why I can be the way I am is not because I think I got it under control, but because I know God has it under control. That's what the Father's trying to do in His.
I like to call it putting on the game face.
Yeah.
I like that. yes.
Through, through what I went through. Of course, the kids are always watching. And it's like, you had to get up even if it felt awful. You know, you just put on the game face. And
Uh-huh.
get on with the day. 'Cause
You know what that's like too.
Yes, you know, they're watching it, and they see what the emotions, good, bad, ugly, they know. And of course, they're gonna play off of it. If you're having a down day, they're gonna be upset.
Mhm.
So,
I took the kids on a nature hike, and they got way ahead of me, and they couldn't hear me, and they were too far out of reach if something bad was to happen, I was gonna go to protect them. And they didn't understand why I got mad at them. I told them, I said, what if there was a bear out there? You know, I went big first. I brought it back down to a snake, but then on the next adventure, we encountered a snake.
Well, that's right.
And he said, all right, we're good here. We seen a snake, I don't wanna go no more. I'm like, hey, you gotta put the game face on. Yeah, I'm just as afraid as you are, but we're gonna keep going. You know, that snake ain't gonna get the best of us.
Right. So I think this is a good verse, you know, that helps instill within us fathers, hey, God's peace, you know, bring it on, because it's different than the world's.
mhm,
And we do need to have that countenance of, strength.
mhm.
I have to admit, when I'm watching Hallmark movies, when the person says things like, I'm never going to leave you. And I just want to jump to the TV and shake. Why do you say things like that? God is never going to forsake you. But, you know, it's kind of like, I'm going to take, you don't have to worry because I've got it under control. When the fact is, I've rarely seen a man who's had it completely under control in my whole life.
Disguise.
Yeah. So.
You know, and that brings up a thought to me, is the man can seem like he's controlling everything or has it under control. But to be honest, because I know myself that it's the respect and the support that my wife continually shows me that allows me to be that way. So we work together, because, you know, if I don't feel her support and her respect, then, you know, it's really hard for me to just push on with the face like I'm fine, you know, because, I mean, you said we're the barometer, but
He said that.
the truth is, if mama ain't happy, there's nobody happy. We know that.
And if daddy ain't happy,
Nobody cares. Right? Not true, but
Yeah.
anyway, okay, so second verse would be Joshua, Josu 1, chapter 1, verse 9. Okay?
Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be you wherever you go.
Right. Another good verse that just, you know, gives us confidence, right? That no matter where we go, the Lord our God is with us. And we need fear? No. No fear.
Actually got a screenshot on my phone.
Yeah. You probably have verse 8 and 9, probably. Yeah.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
Just
It's
looking at
good.
it today, actually.
Good verse to remind us. How about Matthew chapter 6? Matthew chapter 6, verse 34.
Says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble.
Yeah, yesterday I was talking about that verse. Some people who are kind of trying to deal with their worry, because that's one of their besetting sins, as they say, is they take this mindset that now we can just, so I'm gonna do the 180. I'm just not gonna ever worry about anything. I don't care what tomorrow brings. Well, that's not what it's saying. You still have to, you like Ralph here. Like Deb was saying yesterday, you still say, okay, tomorrow I need to get up and plant the garden. And I'm gonna take the kids to school. Now, things change sometimes, and so we don't get it, but it's not like you just lay aside all plans and say, well, I'll leave it to God, whatever God comes up with.
Whatever happens.
But what the difference is that we don't fret about the success of it, so to speak. We just like, okay, I've made these plans. Man makes plans and God directs your steps. And so the thing is, he's the one working through these things. So, and your worry, the Bible, I just love the way it says it. How many of you can even add an inch to your height by worry? In other words, it's just so absurd. What are you going to do about something that hasn't even occurred yet? Except in your mind. Again, I sound real good, don't I?
I'm going back to our.
I'm a lot, yeah, but I'm lousy at it. Okay.
It's really
I'm
bad.
not a worrier.
Yeah, well, see, you know what I try to do as a husband with her? I get her to actually worry about something. I mean, sometimes I'm like, seriously, I mean, really? I don't have to know. It's like, come on, this is important. I mean, not that you're, so.
Okay, Psalm 34, verse 4.
I sought the Lord and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears.
I sought the Lord and he heard me. And he delivered me from all my fears.
It begins with that relationship. I see too many people sometimes where God is like a spiritual firehouse. They seek the Lord with a 911 call, and then they abandon them when they don't need it. But if that relationship is perpetual, then you can count on the fact that when he's poised to respond in that. So again, it kind of comes back to that continual relationship that you have with, and it goes both ways in that. And Sunday I'm going to be preaching on some of these things. It just so happens because I'm preaching from Deuteronomy chapter 6, and it's Mother's Day, but it's going to be about parents, but the role that parents play and support. You know what kids need to see?
Gonna preach your message now? I'm just asking. I don't want you to shoot your gun now and then.
No,
have nothing to shoot
I'm
on
not,
Sunday.
this isn't even in my sermon.
Oh, okay.
I didn't write this down.
Okay, go ahead.
But one thing I've always come across is that what kids need to see is mom and dad secure with the Lord and with one another. That brings the stability to a kid. They can overcome a lot when they know that home and the relationship that dad professes to have and mom professes to have is consistent. When they see that, they can just be kids. And I tell you, I like I said, I spend a lot of time with kids, and they don't have that. And they're carrying around a tremendous burden, tremendous. They don't have the ability to cope with it. And I see 90% of the kids I see are dealing with these things because there isn't that stability. And we, who are God's people, need to stop looking at what's going on with everybody else's life and take care of our own business at home. Because that's where it begins. Sorry.
No, could you read that verse again? Psalm 34, verse 4.
I sought the Lord and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears.
Now, I get what comes to me an idea there is number one, what happened? We sought the Lord.
Yeah.
and then he heard us, you know. So we need to cry out, we need to search, we need to ask, and then he's open. All right, so Deuteronomy chapter 31,
Verse 6.
verse 6, and then Isaiah
41.
Isaiah 41, verses 10 and 13. So Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6.
Okay.
Okay?
Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you.
Yes. Amen. Again, just another verse that God is with us continually.
And it's not a thing where everything works out. For instance, Paul probably took great comfort in that scripture while he's in prison. Because he can say, even in that state, God is not left me. God is not forsaken. And you know, because again, sometimes a lot of people today, especially in America, we have this Americanized Christianity, which is the ideal is that when we do it, everything's going to work out fine. But we know reality. So sometimes it doesn't. But what doesn't change for us is God doesn't change. It's not though somehow we're in a crisis and God is looking the other way. We don't have to go, where are you, God? He's there. He's there. But for whatever reason, like did we read that? Oh yeah, beforehand, was it?
Hosea?
When you read it.
Yeah, I was just going to share that
Yeah,
again
God.
before you guys showed up.
Read that to him.
I was reading a verse that was sent to me, yesterday's verse, and then I can read today's. But it says, "Come, let us return to the Lord, for he hath torn us so that he can heal us. He has struck us down so that he can bind us up. After 2 days, he will revive us. On the third day, he will raise us up so that we may live before him." But the idea, that like we were talking, we like the easy path. God is just going to bless, and blessing to us means easy, and it's not. Blessing sometimes means he's going to tear us, and there's going to be a lot of pain. But when we heal with his healing, oh man, you're better, you're stronger than before. So I like that verse.
Yeah.
Is that Hosea?
Yes, Hosea 6, verses 1 and 2.
The scripture talks about the wounds of a friend. That they're good. Well, I mean, that's in terms of like our interpersonal relationships, but also with God. The evidence sometimes that we're really getting dealt with is demonstration of God's love. You ever think of that? The person who, think about it. If you don't care about somebody, you're not going to bother yourself with discipline or correction or point. I mean, why? Because it's a hassle. But when you love somebody, then you're going to be up to your sleeves in their mess. And that's God's demonstration to us. And it isn't, he doesn't promise us this easy path. As a matter of fact, when we're ready to finally just let God have control, I warn people, hang on tight, because the ride's about to get bumpy. Because he's going to sift you. He's going to put you through the fire. He's going to put you through the water to make you that vessel that he desires. And it takes that. It takes that. You don't get there the easy way. You just don't.
Yes, and a devotional that I have, I book that, it talks about how we are to be thankful for our trials. us that do build us up, and that do make us better in the end. You know, we work through them and draw us closer to God.
I remember years ago, when I was just out of high school and I went to Cleveland, Ohio, and I owned a Pepperidge Farm bread franchise. And I had this truck. Well, I was going to this church and I heard this sermon about, it was the first time it kind of struck me, just to be thankful in all things. So, I mean, the next week, I'm driving my truck to the depot to get my bread, and it's 2:25 in the morning, and the tire blows. Here I am standing outside my truck. I didn't quite get what it meant, but I'm going, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. I finally realized that's not what he said. He said, you don't go, yeah, bring it on. All right, yeah, let's do it again. I got this stick, let's blow up the other one, Lord. But so I sort of had the wrong idea in terms of what it is, but it is a recognition that God is doing his work, so we can be thankful, and we're growing. He's sanctifying.
Well, no matter the circumstance, there's always something. Always, no matter what.
And that's many times how I pray for people. And even right now, during these hard times, that people would not miss the blessing of the hard times. When I go to Haiti, I teach our staff and so forth, and I explain hard with Jesus is better than easy without him. In America, it's easy compared to Haiti.
Yes.
But many people, they don't have Jesus. And hard in Haiti with Jesus is better than easy in America without him. And that's just part of understanding that God maybe tears you to heal you. He maybe knocks you down to pick you up. You're at work. He's working, It's like the potter, he's shaping you and making you the way he wants you. Yes. All right, Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10 and 13.
Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And 16 and 13. I'm sorry. That's right. For I, the Lord your God, will hold your right hand, saying to you, fear not, I will help you.
Amen.
One of my favorite things is when God says, I am your God, but then he doesn't stop there. He says, you are my people. You ever pick up on that? A lot of times people stop, well, he's my God. But think about it. But we are his people too. We are his precious possession. Christ died to reconcile us to God for a relationship, what God wanted in the first place. So we sometimes live as though it's like, well, what's the big deal? When in fact it was a big deal. If he went to all that bother to restore a relationship with you, to just let you hang out and drive? No, not at all. Any more than you would do that to your own children. You wouldn't. And that's how he treats us. It's good for us to think that way. I remember when I was a younger man, I really got a hold of it. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, think about it, is my God. He's your God. We think of those guys, wow, when in fact, I'm just as important as Abraham. I'm not joking. I'm not playing around. I'm just as important as I am. I'm just as important as, Jacob. These are, that's incredible. And when you got that, boy, there's a little more spring in your step sometimes. Even when you're walking barefoot on briars. course, that's probably why you got the spring in your step.
And then Romans, chapter 8, verse 15.
For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption by whom we cry out, Abba, Father.
So we don't need to be bound by fear. You know, many people are. They're just, I mean, they're so bound by fear that it paralyzes them, you know, completely. Read that again. Read it again, please.
For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption by whom we cry out, Abba, Father.
Great. Any other thoughts on that? Last verse then was Psalm 89, verses 15 and 16. Somebody have that?
Blessed are those who have learned to acclaim you, who walk in the light of your presence, Lord. They rejoice in your name all day long. They celebrate your righteousness.
Amen. And as husbands, as wives, as fathers, as mothers, you know, that's our goal right there. To walk that out every day in our life with our families. Well, I don't know if we have a lot of time to do many more questions, but if you're willing, we can continue talking next week. We could do like focus on the family or some of them and just stop taping and tape another hour and play next week.
Sure.
Whew, we're big time now.
Yeah, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
I finally got this figured out.
I was always told, don't get too big for your britches.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I was going to get a little bit specific and ask, you know, husbands and wives, to share a little bit of what, you know, the command is for the husband to love the wife, same as Christ loved the church, right? I was going to put it in the wife's lap. What are some ways that you see your husband playing that out and loving you? And I was going to ask the same for the wives. Same question for the husband. The wife is supposed to respect the husband. Husbands, what are some ways that we see our wives doing that? Because really, it looks a little bit differently in every family. You know, as we were talking about ways that I feel respected by her, it may not be your typical definition of respect, but it does show respect, you know. So I was going to talk a little bit and give opportunity for us to just learn from each other and maybe encourage, you know, other husbands and wives then, you know, different ways that they can show love or they can show respect in their marriage together. But I see that the time is short. So, your call. What do you want to do?
I mean, we got weeks by God's grace, weeks if He carries. Sometimes you can overload information.
Okay. So if you liked this and are willing, next week we can come back and we can continue just sharing some practical ways with each other, you know, of how we see that playing out in our lives. So we can encourage other people, you know, each other. Because the Bible, like I said, doesn't give us a specific list, but, you know, we've been married almost 40 years, same. You know, so that's a lot of years of living together where we've seen respect and love shown in different ways, you know, so we can share some of those things maybe. And if you can think of any other questions, maybe that would be helpful to share with other people, you know, about marriage and a husband's responsibility, wife's responsibility, you know, just let us know and we can just continue talking next week.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he's smart. He's ready.
I will say to you all,
Yeah, it
good
is,
night,
it is.
and the Lord willing, we'll see you again. Well, we don't see you, but you see us. Lord willing, you'll see us again next Wednesday. Oh, sorry, that wasn't good.